Today, we're going to talk about a kind of invisible force, something that's quietly causing absolute chaos in some of our most important institutions. And it all kicks off with a story from an Ivy League campus that completely spiraled out of control, all because of a single email about, of all things, Halloween costumes. But that one email ended up exposing a deep, deep rot at the very heart of how we run things.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 2015. We're at Yale University, and an email is about to drop that will ignite a total firestorm, revealing this huge crack in the very foundation of modern education.
So, Halloween is just around the corner, right? And Yale's Intercultural Affairs Committee sends out this campus-wide email. The message was pretty straightforward. Hey, when you're picking out your costume, please be sensitive about other people's feelings. They even give a few examples, one of which was, and I'm not kidding, maybe don't dress up as a panda because it could be seen as offensive. Well, this kicked off a huge debate. On one side, you had the university administration. They were pushing for what they called a safe space, a place where everyone's feelings are totally respected and protected. But on the other side, a college dean named Erica Christakis sent her own email, and she argued that a university should actually be a free space, a place to explore ideas, to debate, and even to make mistakes. Things really blew up when a group of students confronted Erica's husband, Dean Nicholas Christakis. In a video that went viral, a student screamed this at him. Now, just stop and think about that for a second. The student's argument wasn't that the dean was wrong about free speech. It was that his job, his whole purpose, was to provide comfort. This wasn't just a simple disagreement anymore. This was a head-on collision between two totally different ideas of what a university is even for. But here's the thing. What happened at Yale? That wasn't some weird, isolated incident. Nope. It was a symptom of a much, much bigger trend. And when people try to explain why this stuff is happening, they usually point their fingers at three common culprits. So, the first explanation is parenting. You know the one. Are these kids just spoiled? Are they the product of an overprotective generation? The second one is this consumer mentality. Do students now see themselves as customers who are always right? And the third is ideology. Is this all because left-wing professors are teaching that our society is fundamentally oppressive? These are the standard explanations you hear all the time. But what if they're all missing the bigger picture? What if the real root cause has nothing to do with students or politics, but everything to do with a deep structural change in how our institutions are actually run? The argument we're going to explore today is that the real culprit is bureaucracy, a kind of hidden machine that has quietly taken over not just our universities, but pretty much every major organization in the Western world. And let's be super clear. When we say bureaucracy, we're not just talking about red tape or, waiting in long lines at the DMV. We're talking about something way more fundamental, an organization that has literally forgotten its purpose. So instead of, say, teaching students or healing patients, its main goal has become serving the people who run it, the administrators. Now, saying an organization has forgotten its purpose, that's a huge claim, right? So where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Well, turns out, it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. All you have to do is follow the money. Okay, this chart right here tells a really shocking story. Since 1980, the number of managers and administrators in universities has absolutely exploded. I mean, look at that bar shoot up. Meanwhile, look at the bar for teaching staff. It's almost completely flat. Universities are hiring whole armies of managers, but not the people who actually do the teaching. And the craziest part? This isn't about serving more students. In fact, at a lot of these schools, this administrative surge happened while student enrollment was either stagnant or even going down. The bureaucracy just grows for its own sake. It's not just about the number of jobs either. It's also about the pay. Just take Gallaudet University, for example. Over a 20-year period, a professor's salary went up by 19%. Okay, but the president's salary? It almost doubled, a 98% increase. The rewards at the very top of this new administrative pyramid are just enormous. The president of Yale, the same place our story started, makes $2 million a year. But this is so much bigger than just a university problem. This exact same pattern, this administrative rot, is spreading through every single major institution that we all rely on. Look at the U.S. military. In World War II, America had 12 million soldiers and only 7 four-star generals. Makes sense. Today, we have a tenth of the soldiers, but nearly 6 times as many four-star generals. That is an unbelievably top-heavy system. And get this, Each of those 40 generals gets their own private G5 jet, worth about $50 million. And at the exact same time, 1.2 million American veterans, the people who actually did the fighting, are on food stamps just to feed their families. And you see the exact same thing in healthcare. This chart shows some modest growth in the number of actual physicians. But just look at the growth in administrators. It is exponential. It's off the charts. If you've ever wondered why American healthcare is so mind-bogglingly expensive, you're looking at a huge part of the answer right there. So, what are the real-world consequences of all this? I mean, what does it actually feel like to live in a world that's been built by and for bureaucrats? The writer Franz Kafka basically diagnosed this whole condition over a century ago in his novel The Trial. He describes a system that just creates pointless work, like prosecuting innocent people, simply to justify its own existence. Because when the original mission gets lost, the bureaucracy has to invent new ones, and that often comes at the expense of ordinary people. And you know what? We see the results of all this meaningless work all around us. The rise of things like quiet quitting and lying flat. That's a perfectly rational response to having a pointless job. That widespread feeling that the game is rigged, the collapse of trust in our democratic institutions, it all stems from this hollowing out of our organization. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty unsettling question. As our society keeps prioritizing administration over action and management over the actual mission, in a world that's just full of managers, who is actually left to do the real work?